awaited adaptation of the Philip Pullman trilogy. As said, there's no point in attempting to do a plot synopsis because it's very complicated. All you really need to say is alternative universe, young heroine Lyra Belacqua heading off in search of lost children who are the centre of a plot which is separating children from their demons. In this alternate world, everyone has a demon which follows with them. The demon is not bad as we think of in our world, but it is more of a familiar. It is basically part of their soul. And in the course of doing this, she is taken under the wing of Marisa Coulter, played in Ice Queen fashion by Nicole Kidman.
Lyra, my dear, the tutor of metaphysics tells me that you've missed your lesson again. Now, I know you do not always understand our need to educate you. Sometimes you must do what others think best.
But I disagree, Master.
Mrs. Coulter.
When I was a young woman, I knew that no one could ever really, truly understand me. Except, of course, my demon. And that it would be best if we were free to do as we pleased. Sit down, gentlemen.
Who's she? Dunno. But she shut up the master, all right.
So, I never read the Philip Pullman novels, but I saw the...
Well, there you go. Well,
no,
stop right there.
No. Why?
Because that sets you apart.
Okay, fine. So, Silent Light is the new film by Carlos Rigo. No, look, okay, let me finish that sentence. I've never read the Philip Pullman novels, as I will admit, frankly. I have seen the play at the Nash, darling. And it was the two plays, wasn't it? It went on for most of the day. And when I saw the play, having not read the novels, two things that really impressed me. The first thing was that the story, as described by the play, which I think is probably fairly close to the book, is very theologically or philosophically dense. I mean, it's an extraordinary work. It talks about alternative universes, talks about religion, talks about freedom, talks about ideas of original sin, talks about the junction between this world and the next, and ends with God himself coming on stage in what looks like a glass coffin in a way which many people have, interpreted as profoundly anti-religion, which obviously gives the heebie-jeebies to the film producers.
I don't think it's a question of interpretation. I think it's quite clearly
fine. Okay, great. So this is obviously something that worried New Line, but I was very, very impressed that along with me and people like Mark Lawson, the elder generation, there were 10, 11, 12-year-olds.
He listens every week as well.
Hello, Mark Lawson, who also should have had a role in the film, sitting there watching the play and clearly understanding the ideas, because the ideas were being expressed they were complex ideas, but they were being expressed in a manner which was totally understandable. And in fact, I said to a couple of kids who looked very, I said, are you understanding the story? He said, oh yeah, of course we've read all the books, we know how it works, and this, that, and the other. And that really impressed me. The other thing about it was that the story involves these demons. Every character has a demon which takes the form of an animal. When you're a child, it can change, and then at some point it fixes. And there's polar bears, armed polar bears, and the way these were done on stage was the demons were done with people holding puppets, people dressed in black holding little puppets, and the polar bears were sort of suggestive suits, people wearing suits with a head over there and a paw there, so one hand and head, rather than people actually literally looking like polar bears. Incredibly evocative, really, really magical, really dense, really rich. All of these things are absent from the film. As far as the magic is concerned, there's CGI everywhere. I mean, you actually have the armed polar bears, because in these days, that's what you can do. And yet, sorely lacking the magic of that stage production, of the magic, the sort of imaginative magic. Secondly, theology is not in it. I mean, there is an awful lot of plot in The Golden Compass, which, of course, is adapted from The Northern Lights, although The Northern Lights barely feature in it. There's an awful lot of plot, but there's really not much substance whatsoever. Now, the reasons why there's not much substance is open to debate. Some people say that what happened was that New Line, or the producers of the film, wanted to take out anything that would be seen as being anti-religion, because not only is this post-Lord of the Rings, it's obviously post-Passion, and as we all now know, the Christian buck at the box office is a really big thing. Maybe that's the truth. The other thing is, there are all these stories about Chris White's the director. He was on the project, he was off the project, he was on the project, he was off the project. They all got, heads locked in the editing room. They were trying to wrestle the thing down. In the end, they ended up losing the bit at the end, which might end up going in the next film. Whatever the truth of that is, because you can never trust stuff you read on the internet, it looks like a film that was messed around with in the editing room, and it looks like a film that's kind of botched together, because there's a lot of bits, but what there isn't is any real sense of narrative arc. Characters turn up in the beginning, they disappear, we don't see them again, and a little flash a bit later on. There's an awful lot of confusion, and it's about an hour and a quarter before the big fight, the first big bear fight. And in the screening that I saw, the end of the first big bear fight, there was a round of applause, and I felt the round of applause was not so much because the fight was spectacular, but because everyone thought, fine, we finally got off the starting block, and something's actually happened. We can understand good bear, bad bear, fighting, one wins, boom, it's actually kicking into gear. Now, I have an overriding problem with all of this, which is that Lord of the Rings, I think was wonderful. And I thought the Chronicles of Narnia was like Lord of the Rings light. And this is not even Narnia. It's been a kind of descending trickle-down effect, because you have to compare this to Lord of the Rings and Narnia, because the film only exists because of Lord of the Rings and Narnia. And clearly, in its substance, in its source material, as I said, only from having seen the plays on stage in one day, I came out of it thinking, wow, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's really, you know what my religious affiliations are, but I thought it was really, really interesting and intriguing and open-minded and good-hearted and, about something. I mean, really about something. And I came out of the film thinking, it's about an hour and 3/4. There's a wonderful thing in the BBFC judgment on it, which is it's PG rated, and it says the reason it's PG is that it does have a big fight, but it says it's completely bloodless and also fairly brief. And I think that's actually a very good description of the whole film. It is completely bloodless and also fairly brief. I mean, it feels longer than it is, but it's under 2 hours, and it feels like it's had the guts ripped out of it. It's not terrible. It's not terrible, and I don't doubt that many kids will enjoy it, partly because it has a very, very feisty heroine character in the young girl's called Dakota Blue Richards. Is that her name?
You're the film critic.
Yeah, no, I know. I've got it written down, but I can't. Anyway, Dakota Blue Richards, that is her name. As everyone keeps saying, it's clearly a country and western star coming back to life. But she's terrific. Does a really good job. She's great. Nicole Kidman, I'm not so sent on. Don't believe in her in the ice cream way, in the way that I would, for example, have believed in somebody like Sigourney Weaver. But these are minor details. In the end, the problem is it's just an empty shell of a film. And if you can do all that with all that substance and all that magic and all that otherworldly stuff on stage at the Nash, darling, why can't you do it on screen?
Well, the books are sensational, so the first thing that you have to do is, never mind the play, which I saw as well. But
you're fine. Book. So you never felt like leaping in and agreeing with me?
No, because there's no point in agreeing with you, is there really? And Timothy Dalton playing Lord Asriel. So
that should be on your tombstone. There's no point in agreeing with you.
Well, there isn't really. Timothy Dalton playing Lord Asriel.
Yes, of course, and two
stage,
Bonds.
And we get a Bond playing this one.
Bond, yes.
But if they haven't made
the Lord Asriel was the role that Jason Isaacs apparently was earmarked for.
Well, Jason,
but it's a bit of a thankless task in this one, because in the film he's there in the beginning and then he's off.
I've always thought that the books they're not for kids. Some of the ideas in there are so profound. I was thinking, I'm struggling here on this one. But if they haven't made the section where the kids are being separated from their demons...
They have made that.
I know. Let me finish a sentence. If they haven't made that a truly terrifying moment, how can that be bloodless? That's one of the most scary, terrifying bits of the whole book.
I think in a miraculous departure from form, you've hit the nail right on the head.
Excellent.
Rather than doing your usual straight to the heart of the periphery, you've actually nailed it. Right, that's exactly the point. Thank you, Simon. I have taught you well, and my work here is done.
Thank you.